Really, really out of shape. And this is just the warm-up. The relatively new sport of mixed martial arts, or cage fighting, has come under much scrutiny over the past 10 years. Some view it as just another sport, whereas others view it as barbarism. Seemingly, cage fighting is a controversial subject. I want to find out why this is, and find out if the controversy is warranted. I thought the best place to get educated on the subject was by going to school. I paid a visit to the Griphouse gym in Glasgow to get a fighter's perspective. I met with Guy Ramsey, one of the gym's founders.
I suppose the best description maybe is to describe it as a decathlon. It's the decathlon of fighting sports, except you need to do all the events at once. Like, they're doing everything. They're wrestling, they're doing Muay Thai, they're trading punches, they're trading kicks, they're leg locking, they're arm barring, they've got every range possible in a combat sport.
What do you think of the public perception of MMA?
You'll generally find the world's a little bit divided. There's people that see it still as this cage fighting, like human cockfighting, that kind of thing. And the people who will address it as, this is MMA, this is mixed martial arts. These people, guys and girls, these people are athletes training at an exceptional level. All the negative symbolism of cage fighting, caged animal, caged beast, jail, all these terrible things were kind of used to give the sport an angle for publicity. And there's obviously been a backlash to that we're now trying to kind of cure, if you like.
What is your personal theory on fighting?
Sport fighting. Yeah, sport fighting. I think if you look at most sports, they are a degree of separation away from an actual fight. I think sooner or later we have to accept that the human species still has an element of being an aggressive animal. Our biochemistry is still wired for fight or flight. We're still wired for adrenaline. That's like millions of years of evolution has left us with that. Training for fighting provides an out for that. It provides a release for that, so we don't run around all bottled up and getting really angry and frustrated. Fighters are some of the most chilled out people we've met because they're dealing with their stuff. They're dealing with their adrenaline, they're dealing with their demons, and they're just training real hard to try and kind of find focus for the basic body chemistry that makes us an aggressive species. We are an aggressive species.
I went to meet with the psychology professor Chris Holligan for a more impartial take on the subject.
Whether the aggression is in mankind or humankind or not, I suspect it probably is, and it relates back to our evolutionary past, where it would come into play when we were threatened by predators or other tribes or groups. So I would imagine it's a deep part of our psyche and makeup that has played probably a crucial role in survival. But since the world is a different place from how it was thousands of years ago, there's always the issue of that coming to the surface, and in terms of a much more civilized society nowadays, and being a destructive influence.
I decided to talk to some of the fighters to get their views. I met with Cage Warriors bantamweight champion Paul McVeigh about the controversy surrounding the sport.
There's like a lot of sort of criticism of mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's because it's a fight. Like there are rule sets in place to make it more safe. There are rule sets, but it is one-on-one competition. Like any sport that involves kind of like individual kind of combat can always have like stigma attached to it because of society's perspective on violence. But the thing is, it's consenting. Like when you've got consenting adults engaged in it with the rule sets that are in place to maximize safety, it's an entertaining sport. It's kind of what other sports are aspiring to be. I think it's a very pure form of sport.
The injury statistics, I think, if you do any check on it, like you find
there's there's very few fatalities. There's like, you hear every day about somebody getting like, well, not every day, but you hear a lot of fatalities and stuff like equestrian events, motorsport, like, the Isle of Man TT, how many deaths do they get, like, a year? Stuff like that. So like it's mostly the injuries that you pick up in mixed martial arts are superficial in nature.
I brought in GP and ringside doctor Maeve Rogers to discuss safety in the sport.
MMA has only been around for 10 years and it does have a good safety record in those 10 years. But we don't have the kind of time frame that we do for a lot of the other sports, the older sports like boxing. So it's difficult to see the kind of longer term trajectory of what the problems are just now, what the problems are going to be kind of further in the future.
So what about chokes?
They're certainly, they'll cause a loss of consciousness at the time. The idea with the choke is that the blood supply to the brain is temporarily interrupted and the brain then kind of resets itself. When the choke's released, the blood supply returns and consciousness returns, and that's usually, but if I'm ringside at an event, by the time I get out of my chair and get into the ring, often the fighter's conscious again, so we're talking kind of 4, 5, 6 seconds. In terms of kind of longer term damage, there's not been anything kind of studied. It's a difficult area to study, but certainly these guys are, as I say, 4 or 5 seconds of unconsciousness, and then they're up and out and doing their normal things for the rest of the day, the rest of the week.
I also spoke with Catherine Gallagher, a female mixed martial artist who had just competed for Scotland in the 2010 Delhi Games as a wrestler.
Your legs were flying over like this. Oh yeah. And if you don't have your legs in, that's when you fall off.
Is it difficult being a female fighter? Just can't imagine there's a lot of you out there. And is it more difficult to train?
To train, or
yeah,
it's not difficult to train because you can train with all the guys, so it's not really a big deal. But for like wrestling, even the smaller guys are still a lot stronger and heavier than me. Even if there's only like 10 kilogram difference, I kind of feel it. So sometimes for certain things maybe, but they're really good training with you. They'll kind of base their level up where you're at for your strength and power that they're using against you as well.
Okay, so what's your record like?
I've only had one MMA fight, a couple of boxing, some tag fights, and just some wrestling tournaments and stuff.
So you go in for pretty much any kind of martial art then, yeah?
Well, I was wanting to do MMA, but I wanted fight experience. Paul said I wasn't ready for it, my wrestling wasn't good enough. So I started taking stand-up fights, boxing and Thai boxing. That's my kind of strongest, my stand-up. And then as my jits and wrestling's grown, I've got into the tournaments there. I think it's quite a good idea to do each one individually, understand it better, get to know it. Test yourself against like a wrestler is a total different between someone that's doing MMA and wrestles. The level is different, like the styles are different, so and then bring it together.
I ran into young up-and-coming fighter Brian Hislop and discussed his career so far in the sport.
In MMA, I'm just kind of a beginner. I'm still at the semi-pro level. I'm going to have my last semi-pro fight in March, which is 2 months away, and then hopefully I'm fighting pro. I will be fighting pro after that.
Okay. So what made you want to get into MMA?
My dad was a professional boxer in the 80s and was quite successful in Scotland and that, and then I took up boxing, but I never had as much success with it. I wasn't as technically as good as the boxing as I was at grappling and that when I found out, when I started doing MMA. So I came up here with a boxing friend and then started enjoying MMA and doing well with it, so I thought I'd start having fights and that.
I had actually met Brian a month earlier at a live event in Lanark where he was set to compete. I met another high-ranked veteran and part-time promoter, James Doolan, to discuss the event.
Sport Fight Scotland promotion started with 2 guys that run a gym in Glasgow, John Nicholson and Gary Christie. They started putting on some shows just to get an outlet for their athletes to compete. And I kind of got involved with that because I stay in Lanark. I got in touch with the people at this venue and brought the show over. It's basically just the same reason, so I can let my guys get out and compete.
I understand there's a tournament or something that's taking place.
For bantamweight semi-professional fighters, it's all guys who are kind of on the verge of turning professional. So they're basically going to fight twice in one night. They're on at the start, and then two winners will meet again in the final, and the winner goes away with a title belt, basically just to say that they're the best bantamweight at semi-professional level in Scotland.
I watched on as Brian prepared for his first fight of the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce you to the Griphouse team and taking edge of fighting!
The first fight got underway. Brian was dominating for the first 2 rounds, scoring with strikes and knockdowns. By watching this and the other fights in the evening, it became obvious there was a lot of skill involved in the sport. The worst injuries I saw were cuts and bruises. Unfortunately, I did witness this. Quite a common occurrence in the sport, but totally unintentional.
Watch it, keep the hip right. Right the hands. Right the hands. And your back up. Good. Hands on the body.
Towards the end of the fight, Brian found himself in trouble.
Actually, just hold on. Breathe. And you want to fight it. Good.
He did, however, manage to survive and get the decision. The other semi-final fight ended in submission early in the second round. The final for the title belt was much closer than Brian's first fight. I was unsure who had the upper hand. His opponent, James McAllister, landed what looked like an illegal elbow to the head. He got a point deducted, leaving him at a disadvantage for the remainder of the fight. The fight continued to go back and forth. Brian had the advantage in the feet, whereas James seemed to be superior on the ground. It went to the third and final round, where in the end Brian got caught in a submission and was forced to tap out.
You already know how to business. Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 minute and 30 seconds of round 3, your winner by Anaconda choke in the blue corner, James McAllister. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your support.
I later caught up with Brian to check out how he was doing.
Thank you, there.
You put up a good fight though.
Nah, man. He's beatable. It's a good fight, man. Not taking it away from him, man. He's a tough boy. 4 tough boys going in the day, and it's a good wee show, hopefully, for everyone watched. Yeah.
So what's next then?
I'll go back to the gym Monday and get myself training again and get another fight, you know what I mean?
What were your thoughts on that night?
I thought it was a 4-man tournament, so I had 2 fights in the night. I went through the first fight, which was a 3-round fight, went the distance with a hard fight. The guy was really tough. I kept putting him down and he kept getting back up. So that took a lot out of me. And then I fought James McAllister in the final. There's been a wee bit of a kind of bad blood between the two of us. So it was a kind of a showdown between the two of us, and unfortunately I get beat at the last round by submission. But I thought I was confidently beating him for the first 3 rounds. So I think I should get a rematch with him pro, and it'll be a different story, a different rule set.
What are the differences between like semi-pro and pro rules?
A semi-pro you can't hit to the face on the ground, so you can't do ground and pound, which it's called. Professional rules you can do ground and pound, so it's a completely different sport altogether. Semi-pros just to kind of advance you to that level, you know. You can't throw elbows, what else? You can't do some submissions and things like that. I think because I train with the Dinky Ninjas, which is a professional fight team, I'd be more suited to fighting professional, you know. I think if I fought in professional rules, it'd be a different story, but I can only say.
Well, I was at the Sport Fight Scotland event this weekend. One thing I was quite surprised was just the amount of young kids there, you know, like under 10s. I was like, I was really surprised, and it was a bit shocking, to be honest.
Well, I think a lot of people are. I think we have to get out of this idea that there's something kind of underworldy about what we're doing. It's a sport, you know. Like, you wouldn't be surprised to see kids watching Taekwondo at the Commonwealth Games or watching boxing maybe at like a local gala. I don't. I understand why people are surprised, but I think they're looking at the sport from the wrong angle.
There's a social influence on all of us. And so if they're going to boxing matches, going to cage fighting, I think that'll definitely increase their disposition to be aggressive to other members of society, or in certain situations they'll lose their temper probably much more likely and become dangerous people sometimes to be walking around the streets. So for some people, yeah. For other people, it actually might be quite cathartic going and seeing that kind of violence, which is a value judgment to call it violence. I mean, you could call it physical combat. I mean, would one call it violence if it was judo or taekwondo or whatever at the Olympics? We don't say, oh, let's go and watch the violence at the Olympics.
Do they fully grasp the fact that it is a sport, you know, at that age?
Given it on national television, a kid before he's 8 years old has probably seen or heard of conflict, war, violence, horror, death, murder. Kids are growing up with that knowledge around them. They're growing up with video games that are relating like horrific stuff. Now, you could make the same jump as is that real to the kid, or are they going to think like, oh, well, that's real life, or are they looking at it as it's a video game? Responsible parenting, responsible coaching is a huge part of it. If the kids are brought up to realise that this is a sport, this is a game that we play in one of these, this is not something we take to the playground or the street, which is something we hammer into the adults as well as the kids training with us, then obviously I don't have a problem with the kids interested in the sport.
I was interested in hearing what some of cage fighting's critics had to say. I contacted Morag Milne of Scotland's Church and Society Council and Detective Chief Superintendent John Carnochan of the Violence Reduction Unit for Strathclyde Police. Neither of them wished to speak. I also contacted Sandra White MSP. She didn't even reply to my messages. Finally, I caught a break and got an interview with Conservative List MSP Bill Aitken.
There is a thin line between sport, which I consider boxing to be, for example, which has, I suppose, its overtones of savagery, but it's a very skillful sport. Whereas cage fighting is a much more extreme form of pugilism, where there are very real risks of people being injured, and I really don't think it's terribly acceptable.
Directly comparing with boxing, it's different. In boxing, the aim of the game is to hit the other person in the head, whereas in mixed martial arts and Thai boxing, the whole body is used. There's lots of kicks, there's joint manipulations, so there's less direct impact to the head. So from that point of view, it's possibly safer.
But why would you consider it brutality?
Well, it's held in a cage. Now, you could argue that a boxing ring is, in fact, a restricted area, but at least someone could get out of a boxing ring by virtue of the fact that cage fighting is carried on in a cage where there is no immediate prospect of getting released if you so chose to try to escape. Then I really don't think I think, frankly, it's just tacky.
I think certainly I would much prefer to see fights in a cage than done in a boxing ring. From an MMA point of view, it's much safer. You cannot fall out of a cage, whereas if you're 2 foot off the ground in a boxing ring that's got a 1 foot space under the bottom rope and you're grappling around on the ground, I've seen guys fall out come out underneath the ropes, fall out and onto a concrete floor 2 foot below, which is not what I want to see from a safety point of view. With the cage, the mesh comes right down to the ground, you can't fall out.
I really think that society has advanced a bit beyond that, and that is demonstrated by, as I say, the way in which interest in boxing is now shadow of what it once was in the 60s and 70s, for example. You know, I can recall Jim Watt, who was a Scottish boxing champion. He did, in fact, hold one of his championship fights at Ibrox, and that was in the days when Ibrox would have held 80,000, and tickets were avidly sought after. We don't do that nowadays, just as we don't burn people at the stake and so throw women in the ponds to see if they're witches. You know, society has moved on.
I think what we should be doing is working to bring everybody together and make sure that the sport is as safe as it can be. I think we've seen with other things that have been banned that it tends to drive things underground, which is not, you know, it's not very open, it's not good from a kind of safety point of view, and making sure that everybody is well looked after, and I think that's what we should be aiming for with the sport.
Having heard both sides of the argument, I decided to have a look at the sport from the inside and had a guy put me through my paces.
We're working pads next year. Working on the pads is so you can develop power. Also, when you're working with a partner, you can't throw 100% because it's just going to push your partner off, apart from anything else. So this is the time to start banging the shots, and it's the easiest way to fine-tune the technique. You know if your balance is good, you know if your balance is bad. To start, all right. So start in a good position here. Yeah. Okay. Really relax, man. Relax and just fling dead weight with your shin in the pad, and I'll catch it. Okay. So exact same as we did with the body kick coming in here. All right. That's it. Go. Good. Okay, we're going to do a drill called bag piece. It's a cross between bag work and burpees. It's hellacious cardio. We're going for it. Jab between crosses, off the back. On here, on the counter. Jump. Jump. Okay, and then we're back on. On this. Okay?
Okay.
Let's go. Yeah. Jump. Up. Back up. Good lad. Both hands up, no rest. That's fine. That's fine. Let's go. Right, come on. Let's go. This is just one round, man.
How much do you for this time?
You can doesn't always exist from this point. Don't make me remember the boxing cliches. See, clearly you can. Right, last set, okay. Come on, Carl. Come on, keep it going. All the way. Right, last set, burpees, let's go, hit it. Don't stop. 10 seconds left. 9, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Time. Cool. Okay, fall over, guys. Strong.
I feel like I'm going to die.
It's not like running or even weight training.
No, it's pretty much 100% anaerobic. You need an aerobic capacity to train for like a few hours, but when you're really kind of looking at sport-specific training, what we do is an anaerobic game. So you could run a marathon and not be able to do this. Likewise, I couldn't go and run a marathon. I'm fit for this, but fitness is very sport-specific, and this is 90 to 100% anaerobic. It's explosive, it's fast, it's over, you start again.
It must be actually, even like more challenging if you're not doing it professionally full time. Working your way up, it must be really difficult.
Yeah,
fitting the time.
The guys and girls that fight, most of them are still trying to hold down a full-time job. The money's not in the sport. People are not drawn to MMA for the money. Hopefully, those kind of rewards will come in time. But the people that are pioneering the sport now are the ones that are really making the sacrifice. Holding down a full-time job, getting up in the morning, training, working all day, coming back in the gym, training again. They're doing this like 5-6 days a week. Maybe get a day off now and then. I think as Western life becomes more and more governed by health and safety, which becomes more and more preposterous, people are drawn to something that's maybe more challenging or a little more about risk taking. Do we have to accept at some stage in our development human beings are potentially aggressive creatures? But the responses we have are still based on adrenaline that we've had since we were cavemen, hunter-gatherers. But society now governs that we can't do anything with those feelings. So those feelings build up and build up and build up, and can lead to massive amounts of stress, tension, and depression, because we don't have an out for these things. What this does is provide people with a channeled positive out for the same chemical process that have been making us run, fight, jump out the way of falling rocks and saber-toothed tigers.
Maybe it's like, you know, people who don't have that outlet, you know, that's maybe why there's like, you know, like drunken violence and knife wars and you know, extramarital affairs and things like that. It's just to try and get that buzz.
Get a buzz to make it actually feel like you're alive, and that you mean something to the world.
Yeah. Okay. I'm done. I'm going to go and collapse.
Good effort, man.
Having done some training myself, I now have a greater appreciation for what the guys and girls of cage fighting do. It might not be for everyone, but MMA is most definitely a sport.